We learned about some aspects of protocol when we learned about bondage in those podcasts. In those episodes, we covered the mental and physical bondage of power exchange, and we looked at various levels of protocol. Protocol is also essential to discipline and is part of every relationship dynamic. Hear that again. Protocol is essential to discipline and it is part of every relationship dynamic, even when it doesn't look like there's protocol. And even if the persons involved do not use the word protocol to describe it, the type of protocol in a relationship dynamic is also typically growing and adapting as we grow and adapt. Every relationship dynamic has things that define the actions of the dominant and define the actions of the submissive. And that's why protocol exists in every relationship dynamic. For the relationship dynamic to be healthy and functioning, there also needs to be some amount of consistency in defining actions. This is the essence of protocol. Oftentimes, rules will accompany protocol, but we'll cover rules at a later episode when we talk about training. I am Primal Piggy. You can find me on Facebook at The Primal Piggy, all one word, or you can find me as an admin of a rather large Facebook page called Whips, Chains, and Duct Tape, and you can find that page on Facebook at WCDT BDSM. Also, search me on YouTube. Find me at Primal Piggy. And as well, you can find a lot of our resources at www.bdsmunited.com. Now, many relationships use what's called fluid protocols. This is an emphasis on flexibility and intent rather than precise execution of detailed actions. In other words, fluid protocols make allowances for sudden changes of situation. The demands of address and posture are somewhat minimal, and the protocol is often really less formal. Especially in MS dynamics, fluid protocols enable the slave to anticipate and solve the master's problems before needing specific commands to obey. Fluid protocols allow the slave to serve at all times and in everyday situations, even when master is not present. You'll also find a lot of fluid protocols in DS dynamics as well. Let's look at some protocol related terminology. Uh, we're going to look at some different words, and then I'm going to define them and kind of talk just a little bit about what they mean. Requests. Now, requests are things the dominant would like the submissive to do. Requests may elicit a discussion or be things which a submissive will generally follow, yet there is limited consequence for failing to carry them out. Orders, on the other hand, are instructions or things which the dominant expects the submissive to do, where requests are the things that dominant would like the submissive to do. Orders are instructions or things which the dominant expects the submissive to do. The submissive should do them immediately or timely and as ordered. In formal protocol, all statements from the dominant are taken to be orders unless specified to be requests. Standing orders are ongoing or open ended tasks for the submissive to fulfill. An example would be when I do this, always do that. That would be a standing order. A standing order may require time and attention to complete. Assignments are tasks or work done outside of the relationship, usually meant to maintain it. This may be the form of writing, reading, and studying. Assignments may also be related to personal health or hygiene. Um, Cleaning out, doing an anal clean out or an enema of some type, or grooming the pubic region, or grooming in some other way may be putting on makeup in a certain way may be an assignment related to like personal health or hygiene. Studying a certain topic, studying a certain kink, doing homework on the safety or the practice of a certain kink may be an assignment, and those are things that a dominant typically will assign that task or that work to be done, and it's typically not done while the partners are together. It's typically go and do this on at some other time, and then come back and report what you uh, what you have found or what you have learned, or come back with your body looking a certain way. A downtime is a protocol which has no requirements other than maintaining general respect for the dominant. There is typically no restrictions on posture, address, or any other behavior, and downtime is typically invoked by aftercare or sleep. Once the submissive is told good night, they're usually in downtime, unless they're told otherwise. They are on downtime until their scheduled wake time, until they're awoken by their dominant, or until their dominant awakes. Those are some different ends to downtime. This allows them to do whatever's necessary to get to sleep without breaking protocol. Once the dominant ends a scene, unless given an order or an existing standing order, the submissive is generally in downtime until the dominant gives another order. In all protocols, the obligation to act in the submissive's own self preservation is always paramount and takes precedence over all other issues. A submissive gives their body and will to the dominant under whatever circumstances. Therefore, preserving their body and mind becomes an act of loyalty to their dominant. The submissive is obligated at all times to undertake any actions which are necessary to protect themselves from incidental, substantial, or consequential physical or mental harm. Let me say that again, because some of those were pretty big words. The submissive is obligated at all times to undertake any actions which are necessary to protect themselves from incidental, substantial, or consequential physical or mental harm. Warnings involving physical or mental danger are also allow a um, a breaking or a putting to the side speech rules. It's not the submissive's job to act as a protector, but it is to be presumed that their loyalty is such that they should do so if by some chance it becomes the case that they have the opportunity. And so, oftentimes, as a dominant, we don't send our submissive out to speak on our behalf or to act on our behalf in issues that we should be dealing with ourselves. But sometimes they may come in contact with someone and have the opportunity to speak on our behalf or to defend our influence or reputation or something like that. They should always report back and give us the details so that we can follow up and we can speak on our own behalf if needed as well. Likewise, the submissive's first duty to the collar is to preserve it. It is the dominant's property, not theirs, and they hold it in trust for the dominant when they're wearing it. So the submissive, a dominant puts a collar on the submissive, but retains the collar and the submissive as their property. And so therefore it's incumbent that the submissive protect the collar at all times. This includes removing it, or if it's locked, requesting that the dominant remove it in any circumstances where they feel it may be damaged. Uh, the bottom line is that protocol can look like a lot of different things, uh, but it's present, in every power exchange dynamic. Protocol is the repeatable, consistent actions that define dominant and define submissive. Let me say that again. Protocol is the repeatable, consistent actions that define dominant and define submissive. Those defining actions may look as different as the dominant and the submissive involved in the relationship dynamic, but most protocols will follow a similar structure. In all protocols, generally the dominant leads and the submissive yields. In other words, the dominant dominates and the submissive submits. Typically, the greater the consistency of the protocol that exists, the more healthy and functioning the power exchange relationship will be. Let me say that again. Typically, the greater the consistency of the protocol that exists, the more healthy and functioning the power exchange relationship will be. Uh, in a future podcast, we'll look at service in this series as we continue this series as it's connected to discipline. Then in another one, we'll look at routines and rituals. And then following that, we'll look at rules and training. And then we'll end out our section on discipline, talking about correction and punishment. Discipline, it encompasses a lot of things, and it's a really important part of our BDSM acronym. Hopefully you have a better idea of some of the terminology involved with protocols and some of the things that are just general general things about protocol that are true. I am Primal Piggy. Again, you can find me on Facebook at the Primal Piggy. You can also find me at Whips, Chains, and Duct Tape at WCDT BDSM. Thank you for listening.